Guys, my name is Naguura and today I'm going to do a Torghast guide for 9.1. First of all, I will go into some more basic explanations of changes that happen in 9.1. If you already know everything about that, then you can skip right ahead to the chapter how to get the most score out of Torghast. If you already know the basics, then the first thing is nothing for you. First of all, let's talk about why you should be doing Torghast, like what's the benefit of doing Torghast. First of all, the 4 new layers added in 9.1 drop soul cinders, so there's now 12 layers in total once they're unlocked. They are time gated though, so each week there's 1 new layer that has been unlocked until we have all 12. The soul cinders that are being dropped in those new layers is being used to craft the new legendaries for rank 5 and rank 6. Soul Ash is still needed to craft new legendaries, of course, but it's now farmable on a reduced drop amount after your first weekly clear. So the first run that you do gives a huge amount of Soul Ash, a lot more than it used to be before 9.1. But then afterwards you can just keep farming Torghast for a reduced amount, but you just loot it infinitely basically. So if you would need a huge amount of Soul Ash, you could just constantly go into Torghast and farm it over and over and over again, even if that is not very enjoyable. Then, there are 2 additional floors you can access if you have unlocked the Adamant Vaults with your tower knowledge. You can get transmogs, a pet, a toy, a soul shape form even, and conduit upgrades to item level 259. It's possible that the higher layers that haven't been unlocked yet also dropped socket slots. That's something that happened on PTR, but hasn't happened on live servers yet. So that's why some people are thinking it's locked for the higher layers right now. As I'm recording this video, we do have layer 10 unlocked. So within layer 10, there's no socket upgrades. If there are socket upgrades for 11 or 12, I will put an update in the description below. So let's talk about the scoring system and the interface first. So what is the score made up of, first of all? So the score is made out of completion percent. So this is the most point contribution and it goes up to 100 points. What does completion mean? It just means that you clear everything, right? So every urn that you killed, every mob that you killed, every soul that you freed. If you did everything that you can possibly do on a floor, then you have 100% completion on that floor. If you do your whole Torghast run and you did every single thing that you can do in that whole run, then you will get 100 points. Then the next would be time. The faster you run is, the more time score you will get, but this is definitely not worth to skip things to be faster because the completion score is 100 points and the time score would be a maximum of 50 points. So being really fast is not going to make up for all the points that you lose for the completion. And the way the time works is that there's like a set amount of time that they basically give each floor depending on the length of it. And if you're within that time frame, you're getting like that amount of points. If you're faster than it, you're getting more. If you're less fast than that, you're getting less. And usually this average time frame that Blizzard set is pretty like long. So you don't have to stress yourself at all. You can really do this pretty slowly and you're still gonna get a decent amount of points for time. You're probably not gonna get 50 points if you take your time, but it's not that big of a deal because there's other things you can do that also give a lot of points that are totally gonna make up for the points that you lose for not being so fast. So you don't have to stress at all, in my opinion. Then you get an empowered bonus. I will talk about this later because we need to explain the whole empowerment system. And then there's also bonus points you can get. And I will also talk about this later because there's quite a few details about it there. So let's talk about why the score actually matters. So you need to reach 160 score, which equals 4 gems, to be able to access the next floor. One thing to note here is that the gems, like some people are confused because there's a score and there's gems. And the gems are basically just like a visualization of the score, because the score is what really matters. If you have more than 160, then you're going to be able to unlock the next floor. And the gems are basically just showing that you have at least 160. Right, so that's all. One thing to note as well is that you only need to get those 4 gems or the 160 score one time to unlock the next layer, and then you're done. You don't have to do this every single time, theoretically. Then you need to reach 200 score, which equals 5 gems, to unlock the 2 bonus layers, also known as the Adamant Vaults. Without those 200 points, which is a flawless run, you won't be able to access them. Now, one thing I want to note here as well is that if you only want to farm the Soul Cinders and the Soul Ash, you don't care about the points at all, because you will get the Soul Cinders, the maximum amount, no matter how many points you have, how much score you have. So the gems and the score is really only important for the adamant vaults if you want to unlock them to get your toys and your transmogs and whatever. And the 4 gems are important to unlock the next layer. But once you've already unlocked all of your layers, once you unlocked layer 12 and you don't care about adamant vaults, you only want to do Torghast for your weekly cinders, then you can just ignore the score basically. You only go in there to clear it and then you get your soul cinders and that's it. So the gems and the score is really only important at the start to be able to unlock the next layers. And then you're done. So if you don't like the system, if you don't like the scoring system, then don't worry about it too much. It's going to be gone eventually, or it's not going to be gone, but you don't have to care about it anymore once you unlocked all the layers. Now, let's talk about how to get the most score. First of all, I think in my personal experience, it's easier to get a higher score in a group. I have gotten the best results with like 3 players. Now, I'm not sure exactly how the scaling works, and it also depends on your spec and your class. Maybe it's really easy for you to do it by yourself. I don't know. For me personally, it just felt like if there's 3 people, it feels pretty easy. Like we did a run on my warlock. We were 2 warlocks and a shadow priest. And it didn't feel that great. Like we just walked through, we died quite a lot. We got hit by traps. We didn't get barely any bonus points. And we just like, running through and we get a flawless run pretty easily. So that's why I'm recommending 3 players. But if you're by yourself, it's totally possible to also get a flawless run anyway. The second thing that I recommend is clear everything. Of course, the score that you get for completion is incredibly important and makes up most of your points. If you manage to get 100 score from completion, that's already like half the score that you need to get a flawless run, right? So you only need to get 100 through other things to be able to get the flawless run. So I definitely recommend clearing everything that you see. Don't care about the time, like really just go through. If you're at the last boss and you look back and you see, oh, there's like a mob that I missed, then I would go back and kill that mob. Definitely. I personally never look at the time at all and just do the completion. Of course, if it can be faster because it's easy for you to do everything quick, then go for it, sure, but it should not be a focus. The third thing is a little bit of a forehead statement, but don't die. If you die and you don't have any death preventions, then you lose 20 points, and that is a lot. So I personally really recommend to buy the power from Venari that prevents a death. It's incredibly useful. It's account-wide as well, so you only need to buy it 1 time on one of your characters with Stygia from Venari, and then you have this loss prevention. If you're in a group and everyone has this power, let's say you're 3 people, then you have 3 loss preventions. So if one person dies 3 times, you don't lose any points from that. So I definitely recommend having that. Then let's talk about bonus points. Bonus points are pretty important. There's some you can go for and some that just kind of happen. So there's different kinds of actions you can do that just gives you extra points. So basically, for example, if you don't pick up a single epic anima power, then you get extra points, right? And there's a lot of those bonus points. And I think a lot of people don't know about all of the bonus points just because there's so many and it's hard to remember them all. So I'm just going to divide them into things that you can go for and things that just kind of passively happen, because the things that just happen you can't really force anyway, so they are not really that important to know. So I'm first going to talk about the bonuses you can actually go for. First of all, no epic anima power, the thing that I already mentioned. This gives 10 extra points. Now, depending on your class, it might be that you don't even have any really good epic anima powers, and it would be really easy for you to just skip them. If you are a class that has incredibly good epic anima powers and it makes it so much easier for you to have those, then maybe you should just go for them anyway and just try to get some other bonus points. But for me personally, for a druid, it is okay to not go for the epic anima powers, so I always try to skip them to get those 10 extra points. Then the next bonus points would be no duplicate anima powers, which equals 15 points. Now, I also like going for this one because I don't feel like I need duplicate anima powers, but of course, if you're a person that has like a really, really good anima power that is like completely overpowered for your spec, then you might also want to skip this and just go for a duplicate ones. Now, there's one thing I want to note, that there are certain powers, they're called Obleran something, so Obleran haste, Obleran whatever, and these just give you stats. So they give you like 3% haste, 3% mastery, 3% stamina, whatever. Each class and each spec can get this one. There's some powers that are like green or blue, and they give you 3 times 3% haste, or 2 times 3% mastery, 2 times to 3% stamina and so on. So these blue powers or green powers are just like the common powers times 2 or the common powers times 3. And at the start I thought, I freaked out a little because I didn't want to go for duplicate powers, and then I opened up my anima panel and all of a sudden I had like duplicate powers. So I was like, what is going on here? And then I realized that if you take those rare powers that is like 3 times a common power, then it actually counts as 3 anima powers in your anima power panel. But those don't actually count towards duplicate powers against this bonus objective. So if you took a rare power that gave you 3 times haste, then you don't have to worry about not being able to get this bonus anymore. It actually still works. So as long as you don't take 3 common powers, if you take 1 time rare powers that give you 3 common powers, then it's fine. I know it's a bit confusing, but just when you open up your anima panel, don't be confused and don't think that you messed up. It's just that some of these rare powers count as multiple. Then the next power is 5 times Obler and armaments of the same type, and this gives 10 points. So this is the same thing I just talked about. If you have 5 times of the same stat buff, like if you have 5 times haste, or 5 times stamina, or 5 times crit, then you will get 10 points. Now, you cannot go for the no duplicates and this power at the same time. You cannot have those two, right? Because if you have 5 times stats, then you went for a duplicate power already, right? If you go for like blue haste power, which is 3 times 3% haste, and then you go for like 2 common haste, then you already have a duplicate, or like 2 duplicates even, right? So at that point, you just want to pick one, right? You just choose, do you want to go for no duplicates, or do you want to go for the 5 times certain powers? You can decide this on the fly, because it's not always certain that you're going to get 5 times of the same Obleran power, right? It's not certain that you find 5 times haste or 5 times mastery. So I personally would want to go for the no duplicates. And if you happen to just find a lot of a certain power, then you can go for it, right? But you can't really go for the 5 times haste before like going into Torghast, and then they just don't drop, right? So there we go. So that's why I would just decide this on the fly as you're in Torghast. The next point would be rob a broker. Rob a broker gives 5 points, and you have to basically just turn the broker on floor 3 or floor 5 into an anima cell with a ravenous anima cell. Or you can also use the power shoplifter from your tower knowledge that basically lets you attack the broker and then rob the broker. Now, I personally like to go for this power just because it's kind of for free, I feel like. If you have a ravenous anima cell, you can buy it on floor 3 or 5. So I basically just go to floor 3, I see a ravenous anima cell, I buy it, I buy whatever else I want, and then I turn the broker into an anima cell. The anima cell will always drop Phantasma between 200 and 400. Sometimes it drops 200 and sometimes 400. So basically you get the Phantasma back that you spent on the ravenous anima cell. So it's like a no-sum loss basically. So at that point I just go for it because it's 5 extra points. Then the next power you can go for is defeat the floor 5 boss with at least 500 Phantasma remaining. This scales up with the group members, so you need a total of 1000 anima if you're 2 players, 1500 if you're 3 players, and so on. I like to combine the rob a broker and the 500 Phantasma remaining, because you can get that, as I said, the 200 to 400 Phantasma from robbing the broker, and therefore you do have a decent amount of Phantasma left at the very end, and you can just use that to have more than 500 or to have more than however many people you have in your group. So yeah, this is also something that if you're struggling in Torghast, then maybe you don't want to go for this because you want the extra power from the anima powers. But if you don't struggle, you can totally just go for this, and you can totally just have those 500 Phantasma and you're gonna be fine. So those were the powers that you can actually go for, and all the other powers are just something that just kind of happen. First of all, let's talk about the speed bonuses. Now, if you kill the 5th floor boss in under 20 seconds, you get 20 points. And if you kill the 5th floor boss in under 40 seconds, you get 10 points. Now, this is pretty huge. If you would manage to kill a 5th floor boss in under 20 seconds, you get 30 points because it's both of these bonuses together, right? So this is something that under 40 seconds is definitely doable, but under 20 seconds is really hard. Like, especially if you're going for some of these other bonuses, right? If you're skipping all epic anima powers, if you're going for no duplicates and you have 500 Phantasma left at the end, then you might not be so strong to be able to kill this boss within 20 seconds. But if you can somehow go for this, save an empowerment for the last boss, I would recommend. Save Bloodlust, use your the good potions that you can buy from the broker that give you a huge damage increase, and so on. So if you want to go for it, try. Then another speed bonus would be defeat 2 elites within 10 seconds of each other. This gives 10 points. I personally always get this power just because whenever I have cooldowns up, I go pretty fast and then it just happens. But you can force this, you can go for this specifically if you want to. Then, no elite enemy reached 4 stacks of unnatural power, that's 15 points. This one is really hard in my opinion because there's a lot of elites that you kill throughout your Torghast run and none of them reaching 4 stacks of unnatural power, which is like this passive debuff that stacks up, is pretty hard in my opinion. You can try and go for this by not pulling stuff if you don't have cooldowns, right? You could just basically wait for your cooldowns every time you pull one of those elite mobs to make sure you can kill it really quickly and like really focus it down instead of trying to just like AoE stuff. So you could go for this, but it's a total of 15 points and it's a lot of effort in my opinion to try and get this done. So this is up to you. If you want to go for it, go for it. Otherwise, if it happens, it happens. Otherwise, it doesn't. Then there's other bonuses that I'm going to talk about now that basically just happen. Like these ones really, either they happen or they don't. Like there's really nothing you can do about these. First of all, let's talk about the Ashen Phylacteries destroyed. So it's if you destroy 90% of the urns, then you get 5 points. And you do that anyway, right? Like you're clearing everything because you want 100% completion. So this is something that you just get. Like you don't have to go for this specifically, it just happens. Then collect 30 anima powers, 10 points. Again, this is something that just happens because you clear everything anyway. And if you don't have 30 powers, well then you don't have 30 powers. There's nothing you can do about this. Then open treasure chests, 5 points. If you see a treasure, you open it. It just happens. Then assisted a denizen, like an NPC, this gives 10 points. And also freed gives 10 points as well. Also just happens. No trap damage taken, 10 points. Now this is something that I guess doesn't just happen with the no trap damage taken, but I guess most people just try to avoid traps anyway because they do a lot of damage. So people do try to avoid them. Maybe just be a bit more careful because those 10 points are pretty nice. Now, those are all the bonus points that I've talked about. I hope this helped you to get a better understanding of what you should be doing, what you should be going for, and so on. Now let's talk about the empowerment bonus. The way the empowerment bonus works is there's a blue bar in your Torghast interface that fills up as you do anything in Torghast. So if you kill mobs, destroy urns, and so on, you will fill up this bar. Once you reach a certain threshold of this bar, a special action button appears, and activating that empowerment will buff you and your group, giving you haste, leech, speed, and most importantly, you will gain double the amount of points for any actions you perform. So you gain more points from killing mobs, but also more points for bonus actions you perform. This is important. So all the points I just mentioned, the bonus points, you will get double amount if you do these during the empowerment. So let me give you an example. Floor 5 boss killed under 40 seconds or under 20 seconds, 2 bonuses that we talked about earlier. This is an additional 20 or 10 points if you do this while you are empowered. So that's why I recommended earlier to definitely keep your empowerment bonus for the last boss. If you defeat 2 elites within 10 seconds of each other, you gain 10 points for the bonus and 10 additional points if you do it while empowered. If you defeat the floor 5 boss with 500 Phantasma left, then you get 10 points normally and additionally 10 points if you are empowered. So that's why having empowerment up for the last boss is really nice. If you want to go for like a big speed kill, I would use the empowerment on pull. But if you know that you cannot kill the boss under 20 seconds and you can kill it under 40 seconds certainly, then I would recommend delaying the empowerment a little so it's still up when the boss dies, because then you get those 10 extra points for having 500 Phantasma. Then assist a denizen, that one gives you 10 points. So if you are empowered, you can finish the quest while being empowered and you get an additional 10 points, right? So like you're having this NPC and you find the bell or whatever the denizen lost. These idiots, they keep losing stuff and you're trying to help them, like, maybe just take care of your things more better. Like, what's your problem? Anyway, but if you find the bell or whatever they lost, then you can turn it in while empowerment is up if it's the first NPC that you're helping, because you only get a bonus on the first NPC that you're helping. So that will give you 10 extra points, which is nice to look out for. Then you could also get 5 extra points for robbing the broker, but I wouldn't recommend doing that, because if you empower in the broker room, then there's nothing else you can really do there. So you're not getting a lot of points. But yeah, there's quite a lot of things you can go for here with the empowerment bonus. I personally always just empower and go for big pulls. I usually try to delay my empowerment for when they die instead of using it at the start, because if you're using your empowerment at the start and then it runs out before they die, then you don't get that extra bonus from the kills. So I personally try to delay it a little and then kill as much as I can. I try to go for some of those extra points if I can, but I'm not like really going all out on it, because at the moment it seems that it's pretty easy to get the flawless runs. Right now, it's possible that it's more difficult on the higher floors like 11 and 12. Then you might have to look out for those things that I'm talking about a little bit more. But for now, it seems to be pretty easy to get those high points, even if you're not trying to go all out on those like min-maxing empowerment bonuses and so on. Then let's talk about torments real quick. There's torments that are similar to M+ affixes and also similar to horrific visions in BFA. The higher the floor is, the more torments there are actually going to be. I do recommend when you enter Torghast, just immediately mouse over your torments and read what they do and try to avoid them if you can. Some of them are pretty hard to play around, so definitely make sure you do read them before you get surprised and then you might even die. Then there's blessings as well, which is positive buffs. These blessings should be read as well. Yeah, once you enter Torghast, just read what the blessings do in case there's something that you can play around. Then you get more of the bonus. Just make sure you read them to see what kind of buffs you have. Then the last thing I want to talk about is Tower Knowledge. Tower Knowledge is a weekly kept currency you earn for doing Torghast runs. You can spend this currency on a talent tree that is unlocked after doing an initial quest, and it's located on the Runecarver's platform. The more talents you will unlock, the easier Torghast is going to be, of course, and I personally recommend getting these powers as soon as possible. First of all, Efficient Looter. Automatically loots enemies in Torghast. This is just so nice. And then I recommend going for Blessing of Ancients, which is begin each run with 1, 2, or 3 blessings. These positive buffs that I talked about earlier, this is really nice to have these buffs as you go in. And then Freed from Torment, begin each run with 1 or 2 less torments. I really recommend going for those, just because if you do higher floors, there's like 5 torments by default, which is a lot. So if you can get rid of 1 or 2 torments, then that will make it a lot easier for you already. Alright, so that was it about Torghast. I hope this helped you out. I know it was pretty long, but I definitely made sure that there's the chapters below so you can just go for whatever you want to know. And I really hope the in-depth explanation about the bonus points helped you out, because I personally think if you know the bonus points, then it's just going to be so much easier, and you can just go for those specific points and your life's going to be easier. So I really hope this helped. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like these. Give it a thumbs up if you liked the video. Ask any sort of questions below if you want to know anything more. You can also come over to my stream at twitch.tv/Naguura if you have any additional questions. And I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Hope you enjoy 9.1. Hope you enjoy Torghast. And I hope you have a nice day. Bye, guys.